Bangladeshi factory worker called Nobody, but he shocked everyone in the US boardroom. The sound of sewing machines filled the dusty room. Dozens of children sat hunched over cloth, their fingers moving faster than the eye could follow. The air was thick with heat, humidity, and the sharp smell of dye. Among them was a boy no older than 14, his shirt torn at the shoulder, sweat dripping down his temples as he carried heavy bundles of fabric across the floor. "Arif!" a supervisor barked, his voice cutting through the clattering machines. "Move faster, you're slower than the rest. Remember, you're nobody, just cheap hands, replaceable." The boy lowered his eyes. He wanted to answer back, to say he wasn't nobody, but he didn't. Instead, he kept walking, the bundle pressing against his small frame. His name was Arif Rahman, the son of a rickshaw puller and a maid from a poor village outside Dhaka, Bangladesh. Arif had once dreamed of school. He loved numbers, loved reading, loved the way words could open worlds he had never seen. But when his father fell sick and debts piled up, there was no choice. At 12, he left the classroom and stepped into the factory. Every day was the same: 12 hours of labor, one meal of rice and lentils, and insults that cut deeper than the bruises on his arms. Yet at night, while others slept, Arif studied. He collected torn pages of English books discarded in the trash, tracing the words by candlelight. His friends laughed at him. "Why study? We're factory boys. This is our life." But Arif whispered to himself, "Not forever. One day I'll prove them wrong." Before we continue this story, if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, make sure to subscribe now. Don't forget to hit the like button and press the bell icon so you never miss our new stories. One afternoon, while delivering fabric rolls to the office upstairs, Arif overheard the factory owners. They sat around polished tables, laughing. "These kids," one said, waving a hand dismissively, "they're nothing. Replaceable nobodies. If one dies, we bring 10 more. Cheap labor." The words pierced Arif like a blade. That night, he told his best friend Imran what he had heard. Imran only shrugged. "Forget America, Arif. Forget big dreams. People like us. We're born nobodies. We die nobodies." But Arif clenched his fists. "Maybe you accept that. I don't." It took years. Arif saved every coin from his meager wages, tutoring other kids at night, running errands for shopkeepers. He applied for scholarships with the little English he had learned. Most applications were rejected. Letters came back with the same cold words: "Not qualified." But then, one envelope changed his life. A small university in New York had accepted him on a partial scholarship. Arif could hardly breathe as he read it under the dim factory light. He was leaving. The day he told his supervisor he was going to America, the man laughed in his face. "You, America? Don't joke. You'll wash dishes there too. Once a nobody, always a nobody." But Arif only smiled quietly. America was nothing like he imagined. The city was tall, bright, and loud, but it was also cold and unforgiving. His accent made people snicker. His cheap clothes drew stares. At job interviews, managers looked him up and down and shook their heads. He worked wherever he could, as a dishwasher in a diner, as a delivery boy on a bicycle, as a night cleaner in offices. By day, he studied business and finance at the university. By night, he worked until his feet ached. Often, he sat alone in his small dorm room, missing home, wondering if the factory men had been right. But then he would remember their voices. "Why were you nobody?" And that memory became fuel. Arif graduated, top of his class. His professors admired his brilliance. "You think differently, Arif," one of them told him. "You see the cracks in the system." And indeed, he did. He had lived those cracks. While other students dreamed of Wall Street jobs, Arif saw something different. He knew American retailers depended heavily on factories like the one he grew up in. But he also knew the truth: corruption, underpayment, child labor, dangerous conditions. These weren't just moral failures, they were business failures, costing billions. Arif had an idea, a company that would bridge US retailers with ethical, transparent Bangladeshi factories. A system that guaranteed fair wages and safe conditions while delivering reliable supply chains. He called it Ethical Trade Solutions. At first, investors laughed. Who will trust a factory boy from Bangladesh? You don't even have a proper accent. But Arif didn't stop. He started, small, connecting with ethical fashion startups. His honesty won trust. Slowly, his company grew. His first contracts were tiny. But his system worked. More clients came, and then more. Still, the old voices haunted him. You're nobody. Years later, Arif found himself standing in a skyscraper boardroom in New York. The table was long, surrounded by powerful executives in tailored suits. They represented one of the largest retail corporations in America, a company that made billions each year from cheap overseas labor. As he set up his presentation, he heard whispers. Who is this guy? One muttered. Some nobody with a thick accent. Another chuckled. Arif felt his hands tremble. For a moment, the boy inside him, the factory worker carrying cloth bundles, resurfaced. But then he remembered the nights of study, the years of struggle, the faces of workers who still lived as he once had. He looked up, meeting the eyes of the board. His voice was calm, steady. Gentlemen, I grew up in the factories that make your clothes. The room went silent. I was one of those workers you called replaceable, nobody. But today I am here not as a worker, but as your partner. You depend on my people, yet for years you have turned a blind eye to their suffering. I am here to change that and to save your company millions in the process. He clicked the first slide. Numbers filled the screen, statistics, losses, projections. His system cut costs by 30%, ensured stable supply chains, and boosted brand reputation. His data was airtight, his passion undeniable. By the end of his presentation, the once skeptical executives were leaning forward, nodding, whispering to one another. Finally, the chairman stood. Mr. Rahman, he said slowly, this is revolutionary. That very day, Arif's company signed a $200 million partnership deal. Overnight, Ethical Trade Solutions became a global name. The boy once mocked as nobody now controlled the contracts that fed billions into the industry. Reporters hailed him as a visionary. Workers in Bangladesh celebrated, chanting his name, and the same men who once whispered about his accent now stood to shake his hand. Arif looked at them, a quiet smile on his face. Funny, he said softly. The factory boy you once dismissed as a nobody just became your biggest partner. Years later, Arif visited Bangladesh. He stood before a group of young factory workers handing out scholarships. I was once where you are, he told them. They called me nobody. But listen to me. There are no nobodies. There are only people waiting for their chance to rise. And in that moment, the boy who once carried bundles through dusty halls was gone. In his place stood a man who had rewritten his destiny and the destiny of countless others. Because Arif Rahman was never a nobody. He was always meant to be somebody.